Good evening, everyone. We are back for Witchy Wednesday chat. So I've got Spin Pixie with me tonight, and
Hello.
I just want to make an announcement to Kim McAvee. I know you want to be on. I can't find you on the Google thing, so just kind of message us here, and then we'll be able to get you invited after we get some technical difficulties sorted out. So anyway, tonight we were going to talk about how we did for in bulk and what we're doing now. So, how did your in bulk ritual go? Because I haven't been able to talk to you much lately.
Yeah, I know. We've just been busy. I know you're busy and I've been busy. But as far as my involvement went, this time is always really reverent for me because this is when I actually initiated, like, formally into the craft. There was something that I did for my studies, but then something I did to initiate my path, and this is the time that I did it. So this is kind of a special one for me. And so every year I try to do something. I try to do something different from all the other rituals. Not to say that they're all the same, but I do try to celebrate differently. I try there's a difference in this celebration for me. So on Imbolc, what I do is I start the morning by feeding the birds, and I offer that to Bridget, and then I make ready for my ritual. And then after I do my ritual is something that while I'm writing everything out, I'm just thinking about that very first day, that very first time, those very first things, and how new that was. And I try to imbue the aspiration and the drive and all those things that I were as a new pathling. I try to imbue that into what I do for that ritual to kind of renew my zeal, my zest for what I do as a witch. So as I'm writing everything out, I start to think about the newness of things and what I would like to see flower, and that I get ready. It depends on every year; it's different. There's one thing that or another that I'll work on. That's the kind of driving goal of the year. And then as things come up, I'll add to that. But there's always one big project that I endeavor on per year that starts at that time.
Um, yeah, um, I usually start on the first at sundown officially for me, and so Peg and Kim did contact me, so I'm trying to see if I can get her thing up here and invited. So if I look strange, that's what I'm doing, trying to do an invite at the same time. Um, but for me, after I do my ritual in the evening, and then I go from there and um, sorry, I can't walk and talk and chew gum at the same time.
Well, for me, it's an only like,
There she is. She finally popped up. Now I typed that in first and it didn't pop up. There you go. Okay, invite sent. All right. I was feeling really bad because I was not, I don't know what the deal was. I guess my Google Plus was kind of asleep. I hadn't used it in a while. So for me, yes, I perform my ritual and then I usually perform um, some like divination work. Well, this time I really didn't do the divination work at night. What I did was I did my new oracle meditations. So they, it's a new thing I got in Austin. Let me grab it. It's right here, and it's called Becoming an Oracle.
oh, awesome.
And this has 7 CDs in it. Hello, Kim. She made it. Hey.
Hello!
Awesome. We're talking about what we did for Involk and how we're, moving past, what we're going to do, following up Involk. But
Awesome.
this is what I did So I started this program, and it's 7 CDs, and the lady basically takes you through one meditation after another through the 7 CDs to all of the major oracle sites in the world. And
Oh,
she walks you through the actual meditation with that oracle. Or
that's awesome.
yeah, and she basically has you traveling to. She starts you with the Sphinx in Egypt, and she basically centers you there as where you always return to as you start the next journey, basically. And the first CD goes through the Sphinx, the Oracle, at the temple for Amun-Ra in Egypt as well, and then comes back through a cave of ancestors, and then goes to Wajet, the snake goddess. I mean, she travels you all over. So basically, that's what I spent my in bulk evening after my ritual in meditation, traveling Egypt, making it as far as making it as far as um, then after we go around Egypt a while, then it went to Israel. It went to Jaffa in Israel. And she did a Kabbalah meditation. And then it went to the Rom, the Rom people, Romney, gypsies outside of Italy. And then it went to the Celtic path, the horse goddess of the
Oh
Celts.
wow.
And so it's been really, really interesting, and each meditation builds upon itself through the whole 7 CDs. So it's going to take you like over 24 different major spots teaching you. So that's what I did for in bulk.
That's interesting.
That's awesome.
So what did you do, Kim?
Well, actually, Imbolc was my kind of my full-on initiation to the path. I've kind of studied on and off for years, but early last year I was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to really do really intensive study and just do my own official year and a day and really practice everything, all the rituals and all that, because I was stuck in analysis paralysis mode for a while.
Yes.
I was like, I'm just going to do it. So
so
I just fully initiated myself. So it was really special, and it was really a great moment, and now I feel like, I'm there.
That's awesome, but yes, we do
really good.
Yes.
So yeah, I'm feeling really good, and
and
I'm also gearing up for the Lunar New Year. So I'm pretty excited about that. Particularly, I have a video I'm going to be editing tomorrow. Hopefully that'll be up Friday, and it's going to be about the Jeju Island goddess Solmunde. And I'm going to be working with her, and I'm really excited about that. So she's, as I said, a Korean goddess of Jeju Island. And yeah, I'm really excited to do a whole series and kind of introduce that to everybody. So yeah, I'm really super excited about that.
That's awesome. I'll be looking forward to that video.
Yeah.
Ben also initiated on Imbolc.
Oh, cool!
Imbolc is very important to her as well on her path because of that too. So yeah, she. I don't know if anybody else, but Imbolc always used to confuse me. Out of all of the sabbats, that was the one that I had at first the most difficult with, because of how they always talked about being the first of spring, and that's what I misinterpreted for the longest time. It's more the promise of spring, not that spring's here. In South Texas, spring can be here. The day before Imbolc, it was 80 degrees here. So
yeah, I'm in Georgia, so yeah, I'm still waiting for winter to start.
Yeah, exactly. We didn't have a winter this year, really. We had a few dark days with some rain and some wind, but that was about it. So yes, I am there with you on that one. And so, um, and my question, because it's also Groundhog Day, because it is very associated with Imbolc itself, because of weather divination, because they wanted to know whether the weather divining was a big part of their Imbolc celebration, was to find out whether it was going to be 6 more weeks of winter, to where they would ration what they had left, or if it was going to be an early spring. So the groundhog here on Imbolc morning would not have seen his shadow. However, 2 hours later, he would have seen his shadow. So now I'm confused. My weather divining went out the window. It was, let's see, here I think it was like 48 in the morning. It was dreary, it was gray. And then 2 hours later, it was 70 degrees and it was bright and sunny. So it's like, I have a feeling we're having an early spring in South Texas, because we never had a winter. So how did y'all's weather divining go? Did y'all weather divine?
My weather divining app for iPhone said that it was going to be a pretty sunny day and cold, so that's as far as I got.
Okay.
It's just the weather here is a lost cause. It's just always going to be sunny no matter what. It can be cold and sunny, rainy and sunny, hot and sunny. It doesn't matter. The sun's going to shine.
Pretty much.
It could snow. I know now that it could snow and the sun will still shine.
I've lived in South Texas for 54 years, just about. Well, in February, the middle of February, it'd be 54 years. And I've seen one time of real snow once here. There was some sleet. There was enough to make a muddy snowman once, a few things like that. But other than that, it was just one time of real snow. And that was like a miracle. That was like, nobody had ever seen that happen here. So how's the weather in Georgia?
I'm sorry.
No, how's the weather in Georgia?
Oh, it's just rainy and hot. We didn't have a winter. And we get snow here sometimes too, like every couple of years. And the last time was in 2014, and that was infamously when Atlanta got snow too, and everybody was leaving their cars and all that. So that was the last time.
Yeah. When ice and snow hits Texas or anywhere in the deep south, we're like, ah!
Get the milk and bread.
Oh my God. School's down, we can't go nowhere. we don't have the know-how to survive that crap.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we don't either. One flake and it's done. The town is shut down. Everybody's staying home. The few brave souls that go out to get milk and bread, and that's it.
Well, just like when it rains in Southern California. No one knows how to drive anymore. No one knows how to live anymore. The world has ended. Everything is closed. What is this stuff all in the sky?
That's pretty much South Texas too. So I'm pretty safe to say that it's going to be an early spring here, since there was no winter. We can have a winter. We scare some of the snowbirds here with our 90-mile-an-hour winds. So when it's cold, it's wet, and it's windy, that's a lethal combination here, and we have Canadians wanting to go home to 6 feet of snow, because it goes through every bit of clothing that they have, and they freak out. So they're like, what the hell? This is supposed to be South Texas. It's like, this is South Texas. Welcome to our world. But just hold your breath, and it'll be 90 degrees in a minute, so don't worry about it. It'll be okay. You'll be sick as a dog, but it's okay. So that is how it's been lately around here. So what else have y'all been doing?
Hmm.
Well, for me, I've been doing a lot of music stuff.
I have
Um,
seen that. You've done your music videos and everything.
yeah, I've just really been getting back into doing music, and especially like in regards to bringing it into my craft and using it again in my craft, and I really enjoy doing that because it's something that I found that I kind of let go dormant for a while and just kind of didn't do it at all, and then I was bored and looking on Amazon one day and I found a really cheap drum. So I bought it and that kind of started the whole thing. And and so yeah, that's I've just been doing that and practicing my tin whistle, and it's pretty awesome. I was sitting in the tree yesterday playing.
She
I
actually
saw that on
does.
Facebook.
Yeah, she actually knows how to do music. You would not want to hear me do that. So just putting that out there. If it's not pre-recorded, I don't do music in rituals.
I do karaoke
Okay.
after a drink or two.
She
I'll do
could do a
it
drunk
after a
ritual.
drink or
Okay.
two, but private.
Well, I've been treasure hunting with my grandson in Austin, and I have to show y'all my two very amazing finds.
Ooh,
They were brooms, but look at
cute.
this broom. It's a carved handle, and it goes up. Oh,
Cutie
Oh,
I,
patootie.
awesome!
I loved it. $2.99.
Wow.
Awesome.
And then this one, it is a rough actual tree limb, and it's got the weaved thing to hold it together, everything. And I
Nice.
was like $1.99. It's like score,
Awesome.
score. I put the brooms over my windows, so I have a few windows that do not have brooms officially, or if they do, they have old cinnamon brooms that I've used. So that should finish out most of my windows in my house. So I'm very, very pleased with that. That was my best find. Oh, and I found this. The little
Ooh.
skinny candle holder, and it came with a whole set
Awesome.
of the candles with it too, and it was again, I think, $1.99. So
I like it.
I was, I was thinking, yay! That was my treasure, and then of course the other treasures were a what's his name? I don't know, some dump truck with one of the cars emblems on it. And my grandson, 3 years old, got fascinated with a wooden sleigh. And so he took it home for his toys to go in, this little wooden sleigh. Uh, his, his mother was quite upset that she's fixing to move into a brand new house, and I'm calling things out and you're bringing junk from Goodwill to my house. What are you doing? It's like, we're treasure
But
hunting.
that's what grandmas are supposed to do.
Exactly. We
Exactly.
found treasure, and I bought the treasure for him. We're all good. So I'm teaching my grandson to go thrifting with me, much to my daughter's undelight. She was not very happy with me. You won't be happy when you find out about your Yes. Brandy just chimed in, my roommate. She goes, she won't be happy when she finds out about Jaws, too. I was flipping the channel and Jaws 2 was on TV, and he saw the
Ooh.
shark, and he wanted to
Ruh-roh.
see. So the shark, he just seen Land Before Time, where they call it the shark tooth shark. So he's a shark tooth that's in the water, and so he wanted to see the shark tooth, and so Jaws was kept coming up and trying to eat people's feet. So we were, yeah. So Grandma got in trouble. She was letting him watch Jaws, a little bit of Jaws, because he wanted to. So yeah, she doesn't know that yet. But he likes to tell on you, so I'm sure she's gonna figure it out soon. So yeah, I'm gonna be in big trouble. So yeah, Jaws 2. He saw part of it. I turned it off before he ate people that was really eating people. He just kind of ate a boat, and that's when they caught him on fire and barbecued him, and that's as far as he saw. I promise.
Just say
That's
that
nothing.
you're confused with SpongeBob.
Huh?
Just tell her he had it confused with SpongeBob.
Well, see, that's just it. She doesn't even allow him to watch SpongeBob.
Oh, well, damn, you're sunk.
I am really she lets him watch Paw Patrol and what's his other Bubble Guppies and Zoomy Zoomy, and she doesn't watch those kind of shows. He can't watch Ninja Turtles. He can't watch anything that has any kind of violent slapping around. No, she doesn't. She'd go for that. I'm in trouble.
You're in trouble, Grandma. You're in trouble.
Grandma doesn't care. Grandma doesn't care. He was fascinated with a shark. What's I supposed to do? So anyway, I stay in trouble. Doesn't matter. So, what are y'all doing for spring to bring in spring?
I'm still kind of formulating some plans, so maybe I'll copy some of y'all's.
I tried to go to the farmer's market this afternoon because we have a farmer's market. The problem is it's always at bad times to go. It's Wednesday afternoon at 5 o'clock, which means downtown Corpus Christi at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, which is not a good time to try to find a parking place or anything else down there. So I'm not sure why that farmer's market does that. And then the other one is Saturday morning, which I'm always working down a different street. And so they do everything there. They even, at the one downtown, they even do yoga class, everything.
Wow.
Like, so we tried to venture down there, but by the time we realized I couldn't find a parking place, it was already 6 o'clock, and I'm like, I gotta go back home. I'm supposed to have this chat tonight. They're not gonna like it. Over here, I'm sorry, I forgot about y'all. I'm at the farmer's market looking at the people doing yoga that I should be doing, and I'm not. So, yeah. So I'm looking for herbs to plant and get my herb garden back. I let everything die. I did not take care of it last year. I'm a bad witch. I used to be so good at gardening. I just don't have time anymore. It's sad. Very, very sad. So I'm reading Ellen Dugan, trying to get inspired. She's, the garden witch, the green, she does all the cottage things and stuff. So that was another find I had, was another book to add to my collection of her, because I really love reading Dugan.
Yeah,
And,
I have a lot of books too.
I really just like her style of writing, and I like her themes that tend to be out of her garden and around her home, and cottage witchery kind of thing, and I really like that. I'm enamored of that lifestyle too bad. I'm not practicing it, but my grandmother would be, very angry at me about now, but
Oh, my grandma just shakes her head when it comes to me gardening. She shakes her head. She's like, I don't know. I don't know.
If you saw my
I
yard,
miss having my garden like we did not last year, the year before. We're not gonna do it quite so big this year, but I am gonna do some herbs, and some edible stuff like kale and stuff because I miss actually just being able to go out up to the boxes and get it. So I've got to do something for spring. So I've at least started planning out what I want to do. Last year was terrible for planting because it was so hot. And if you would water the plants, even if you did it at night, by morning, they'd be dry because it was just so hot. It was dry and hot. Um, so hopefully we have a better year for a garden this year because I do not want to buy a whole bunch of herbs like I did last year and have it all go to pot because there's nothing to keep the plants moisturized.
my yard, I bought this house like, shoot, 3 years ago. And I bought it in November time, so it's actually been about, a little over, around 3 years, almost 3 years. And um, the yard is full of nothing but weeds because it was a rent house before I bought it. So the yard looks like a rent house yard. It's bad. Very, very bad. But when I looked at it and I just thought, oh my God, it's going to be clay soil. Texas clay is so hard, and I have to dig it up, and I'm going to have to find a man just because I don't want to do that crap. And I'm like, oh, I don't want a man. It's like really torn about how I was going to start this yard. And then I realized my yard is got the best dirt in the friggin' world. I got earthworms the size of my pinky in that yard from beginning to end of it. And the yard, when you walk in it, it's like walking on a sponge because it's so aerated already and so luminous. I'm like, and yet there's still nothing but weeds out there. Okay. I have no excuse now. So.
Well, some of those weeds could be useful. You might want to find out what kind of weeds they are.
True.
I don't know if these are Texas weeds. They don't look like much. I'm sure there's something.
I found out that we only have dirt weed. Like, literally, I think that's what it was called, dirt weed. You can do nothing with the weeds in our yard. It's
That's
so
what
sad.
my yard looks like, okay? I'm sorry.
We couldn't have anything useful like bindweed or lamb's quarters or anything. No.
I have bindweed in my back alleyway. I have some, yeah. And I have Brazilian rain trees. I have this tree called it's very Spanish. Let me see if I butcher it for y'all. Plata de vaca. It translates out in the.
It sounded great to me.
It sounds. It is called foot of the cow. Literally, it translates out to foot of the cow. And it is for your kidneys and blood sugar, and you make a tea out of it. And it's a Brazilian rainforest tree, and it's got the beautifulest purple orchid-looking flowers on it that in springtime it will just be all over it. I do have an oak tree in the yard, a live oak, and I do have a mountain laurel that puts the purple Kool-Aid flowers that smell just like purple Kool-Aid when they bloom. And it blooms in February, so it's fixing to bloom.
Cool.
Oh.
So I do have some useful things. I have aloe vera out the wazoo.
Does your aloe vera die in the winter and then come back in the spring? Because that's what mine does.
Does what?
Does your aloe vera die in the winter and then come back in the spring?
Oh, hell no. It's fully green out there with spiked flowers all over it.
Because mine will go like dull and kind of dead during the winter, but there'll be kind of signs of green. But then in the spring again, it turns bright green and everything plumps and the flowers grow. I don't know, just goes to sleep.
Well, I'm further down towards the equator than you are.
Very
California's
true.
still kind of up there. I know I got heat up there, but I'm way down there. I'm like infiltrating Mexico, kind of. I'm kind of way down there. I'm no, my aloe vera stays green all year long. It doesn't. It might turn a little silvery sometimes, but that's just lack of sunshine when it goes a little bit cloudy. But out of I think we have 285 days of sunshine here on average in Corpus. So we get lots of sun. So that thing doesn't usually. Sometimes it gets a little frostbite, if it gets really cold. But that cactus stays um, through. It has to be real cold. We have to get a real bad freeze, and the freeze usually has to come with water, so that the water is actually freezing and damaging the
Mm.
outer part of the leaves or something. But other than that, no, it's pretty much out there all year long. This weather doesn't even kill off the weeds in my yard. Doesn't kill off anything.
Ain't that the truth?
Yeah.
Mosquitoes,
No,
they're all
we had
hanging
that.
out.
I don't think. Hey, Spin, can you look to see if we have 3 viewers right now?
Oh, crud. I can't see viewers. Let's see. I'm on my
Well,
phones.
hang on, let me see if I can.
Hi, viewers, whoever you are. Hello.
Hello.
Where I can. Um, shoot, I can't. Well, let me see.
Well, you're figuring that out. I have a question for you guys.
Okay.
So I recently discovered that we have a juniper on the property, but it's not the berry producing kind. Apparently, it's another kind of Jupiter. So I'm curious, can you use any kind of Jupiter in incense, or does it have to be a particular kind?
Uh, and juniper, it should be any kind that you can use in incense. Actually, it's all
Hmm.
from the same family.
Yeah, because I was really excited to find it. It doesn't look like the regular juniper. It looks like it grows close to the ground and it just kind of spreads out.
Yeah, because
It's really,
they have a creeping juniper. Yeah, yeah, they have a creeping one, and then they have the other. Yeah. Um, but no, you should be able to use either one. Just like you can
oh,
use it in your Christmas greenery, Yule greenery, and stuff like that. It's all the same.
then I'm gonna go harvesting because I did not know. It's like every day I wake up, if I just go walking around the property, I'll find something new I didn't know we have. Found another oak tree I didn't know we had. And then I found an evergreen that I didn't know we had. Um, so yeah, it's cool that after 3 years of living here, I still find stuff that I didn't know was there. And I
I
do
have
get out. It's not like I don't get out. It's not like I don't go walking around. I play with my dog out there all the time. It's just I'm always finding new stuff.
I have a tree in my backyard that I thought was a marijuana bush at first.
Oh.
And then I found out that there's a tree that simulates a marijuana bush. I was like, okay, because thank God. And instead of budding to be a bud for marijuana, it budded as in purple flowers. And I was like, oh, thank goodness, because it's a big tree. And I was like, it's almost as tall as the
The
cocoa
herbs,
palm.
but
And I'm like, holy crap. I didn't do it. It's in his backyard. I see it. But it's all hung over into my yard. And I'm like, I discovered that last spring and had a heart attack. I had to get my friends to come over and identify what it was because it just had the buds and it was looking like it was a marijuana bud, and I was like, oh my god. The last thing I need to be done is the DEA come and raid me for growing marijuana in the backyard. I was like,
This is not my plant, I swear.
I didn't do it. It was the neighbor. Oh, Lord have mercy. So yes, but I don't even have good trees back there. I have trees that are like hackberry and crap like that. My yard is totally shaded, but so I can grow anything because Texas sun can be way too hot, but I just need to get started, and it just looks like a daunting task. I need my grandmother still alive. She could take over my yard, and my grandfather could do the backyard with the vegetables, and she'd do all the flowers in the front yard, and it would be great. So what does your garden look like, Kim?
Well, I don't have a garden. I've got that Georgia clay.
Yeah, well, they're technically too.
Yeah, I'd have to build the raised garden. And I really would like to put a rosemary bush back there and some patty pan squash in particular. And my neighbor, when she goes out of town, I look after her garden. And she's got patty pan and all sorts of great stuff, and I just vicariously live through her. So
yes, I know how that feels.
But I got pine trees back there, and lots of honeysuckle comes in the summer. I found what I think are elderberries. I'm not sure though. I'm always really funny about that stuff. I love foraging and everything. Totally fascinated by it, but I'm always extra super cautious.
Yeah. Well, your extension agency can tell you if it's elderberry.
Oh,
There'll be a county extension agency somewhere where you live, and they can identify it for you.
Oh, awesome. But yeah, I have dandelion back there too, and I've harvested that and made things out of it, made tea out of pine needles and stuff. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, the wild stuff is pretty good. It's just planting and everything. I'm kind of relegated to potted plants.
Here, it's too darn hot. A potted plant won't make it and be gone like that. The only thing I can grow in a potted plant that I don't kill is snake. Mother-in-law's tongue, what is it called? Snake root? Something. It's the only thing that doesn't die, and I don't water it, I don't do nothing, and it's still there, and it still lives. But my daughter in Austin has huge rosemary in front of her house. 2 giant, huge ones. So I harvest some rosemary every time I go.
Just for anybody who needs help identifying plants, there is an iPhone app, and I don't know if it's for Android, but you can check. It's called PlantNet, and hang on a second, I'll show you what the icon looks like. That it's called PlantNet.
Oh, there it is.
It's a free app, and it's not the best. What it does is that you put your picture in it of whatever you're trying to identify, and there's 3 categories: leaf, bark, or I think flower or something like that. And you take a picture and you classify it by one of the 3, and then it'll give you a bunch of results to go through as to what might be in the order of most likely to least likely what it might be. And it's not like 100%, but it for me it's worked a few times. So I would recommend you guys check it out. It's free. So.
Oh, for sure. Awesome. Thank you.
The other place you can go is to a local nursery.
Yeah.
I would probably take a small branch to where you can see the leaves and the flowers or the berries or whatever, for whatever time of year. Yeah. So that you can have them try to identify it for you.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
That way, because if you have elderberry in your backyard, that's a great thing to have in your backyard.
Yeah, I want to use it.
I was going to say, that's a great thing to have in your backyard.
Yep.
So I would definitely want to know if that was elderberry, so I could start using it if it was. That's just like if
Syrup.
that's elderberry. You sure don't want that wasted. That's
Mm-hmm.
just like I know that you can make with the elderberries itself all kinds of medicinal stuff, but you can also make teas and all kinds of things like that. But they also take the flower and make a tea. It was an old German um, tea that one of my customers, she would come in and she said that she was looking for, and it turned out that she knew it by a different name. And in Germany, it translated out to the old German word, it translated out to linden.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was linden tea or lindenberry tea. And so she was having a hard time finding it because she was just remembering her days as a child in Germany. So it took her a while to understand it was elderberry tea now. That's what the name would be that she would find it here. So she was looking for it, but she said that her mother used to go out and gather the flowers and make a tea out of even the flowers of the elderberry. So that is just like I would find that agriculture person definitely cut off a limb and go into someone.
I'll do that.
Tell me what this is now.
I need to know.
I need to know what this is. The birds don't die eating it. It's probably good. So yes, I would definitely do that. That's just way too useful of a plant.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I really do got to get going on that gardening stuff. I just don't know why I guess it's just my laziness came from when I had a shoulder replacement. So my arm says shovel dirt. No, I don't agree with that. And so it's kind of like this shoulder kind of speaks for the body saying, I don't want to do that. It's just that this thing that has a free pass on everything now. But I really do need to. I miss being able to go out in my yard and just pick things out of the yard to eat and stuff, like a salad and stuff. I miss that
Yeah,
immensely.
that's so awesome. Yep.
And
It's
then I'd be
I
eating
miss
the
it a lot. And especially when just knowing that you're doing the things, you're cultivating the earth to make you and your family, self-sustained and not having to go out to the store every other day. If you want vegetables for your dinner or for your lunch or whatever, you have them already there.
me. It's just to keep me out of the grocery store.
And they make good juices. Like, seriously, I never thought I would enjoy any kind of a juice made out of Swiss chard. Like, that does not sound good to me, but it makes really good juice if you mix it with, like, apple juice and stuff like that. So, I really miss it for that purpose, too. Juicing was pretty awesome when I had my own garden.
Well, I never thought about juicing Swiss chard, but I really do like it with some onion and garlic. just to throw that out there.
A green smoothie or juice is not that bad, actually. It really isn't. Throw a little apple juice in there, and I don't know, it's good, and it's really makes you really energized.
Well, it was never about the green to me. It was that fact that anytime I try to juice kale or any of the real leafy stuff, I have to use so much of it, and I get nothing out of it. I get very little out of it. And I look at all that stuff going, I could have ate that. That's so good. I could have ate that. So that's what my problem is my juicer, I guess, is not really good about juicing the green leaves. It'll do all the fruits, vegetables, and stuff like that, the hard stuff, but the
Yeah.
leafy stuff, it just does not do very well. I get very little out of it, and most of it goes to the waste part. And so I don't, that's the only reason why I don't do the greens in my juices. Not because I don't like the way it tastes or anything. I just wait. I let Jamba Juice do that for me.
I miss Jamba Juice. I haven't had that in a while.
Yeah, they got the
Well, now I'm
big.
gonna want Jamba Juice. Thanks a lot. Pay $10 for a little tiny smoothie.
Yes. Oh, and I would like to say, Crystal Pagan Kimberly McPhee, she has a wonderful blog. Tell us about
Oh,
your blog.
thank you very much. Yeah, that's really been taking a lot of my time, really just planning that out, and then upcoming videos too. I've really just been trying to, really come up with some good content there, and doing interviews and guest posts, of course, and all
Mm-hmm.
sorts of things. Just really trying to plan everything out. So that's really where my mind's been at. So.
That's awesome. So who are some of the other people? I was on it, but I'm not doing it for myself. I wanted to know about some of the other people that you had on there and stuff, and
Mhm.
what they,
Yeah,
tell them
I've met
about like what you like your content, what kind of blog what it pertains to, basically.
mhm. Well, basically, I wanted to kind of help maybe dispel some misunderstanding around Christopaganism, and also I actually went to seminary, so I'm familiar with a lot of biblical history, and there's just so much that people don't know from going to church. It's not something that's talked about in Sunday school, things like that, that I think are really important to know, and I think knowing those things kind of changes the perspective a little bit, and kind of shows that, hey, there's a lot more of congruence and similarity than maybe readily apparent. So
Exactly.
that's really what I wanted to put out there. That that basically there's just so much more that we have in common, amongst our different paths than is different. So
I'm
that
not.
was the.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm not afraid. No, I just like I'm not afraid to explore any path because I find learning one path helps you understand another path.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it also helps you understand your own path even deeper because it comes at certain spiritual thoughts from different perspectives, which
Mm-hmm.
help you with a greater understanding of the whole to begin with. And so I've never had an issue with. Um, I even dated a priest. Okay, I have no problem at all. And he was leaving the church. It wasn't. I didn't like steal him from the church. He was doing that on his own before I met him. But there was a time when he didn't want to walk back into a church, and I told him, and every other word came out of his mouth was, "But you're not Christian. But you're not Christian." Like, stop it. I said, I'm probably more at home in the Catholic Church than you are. I asked him one day, I said, why do you think that the church starts their services with the incense and the chanting and the lighting of candles and stuff? And his response, um, it floored me, but I think it's the essence of a lot of our paths. Not this happens to be about his Catholic Christian path, but I think it sums it up for a lot of us. He goes, well, because all of the old churches in Europe smell. And I thought,
Of course. It all comes down to stinky churches.
I was like, oh, they don't teach why the practices are in practice. They don't question why they do what they do. They don't understand what they do. And I say that not as a Christian or a pagan or anybody else, but the mass people as a whole just do it because it's always been done. They don't question it. They don't
Exactly.
know. And it's not that they don't need to. It's not that I don't need to question why somebody does incense, but to understand the importance of what they're actually doing when they're creating the holy space, creating the, clearing the area, doing the chanting, the candles, all of the stuff. To me, that gives you a deeper understanding, and I think that's the problem with
Absolutely.
the world at large today.
Hmm.
Is that we don't even know why we do what we do in so much of our lives. That's why I like to talk to people and stuff like that. I want to know why they do it, and I want to express why I do what I do, in my understanding of it. And if somebody else helps me to understand even further something I'm doing, or shows me a new way, a different way that I would like to incorporate it in my
Hmm.
thing. That's why I stay eclectic, because
Hmm.
I learn from everywhere.
Oh yeah, and I have a really universal look on just information in general. And one thing, and I actually learned this in seminary. It's something that one of my professors would say. He would say, you know what? You eat the meat and you leave the bones. So if you read an
Mhm.
author, hey, you may disagree with 99% of what they're saying, but if there's 1% that is valid and is helpful to you, then you take that. And there's nothing wrong with that. You don't have to throw the baby out with the bathwater. So
Yeah.
that I think is important. Just information is your friend.
Yeah.
It's not bad. Wherever it comes from. If it helps you progress, understand, then
Yeah.
you know
Right.
what does the source matter? You
And
know
what have you gained? You've gained some wisdom.
exactly,
You know, um,
exactly.
and the thing is, I can even learn from what I disagree with
Oh, for
because
sure.
it makes me stop and think, why am I shunning this idea right
Yeah.
from the get-go? It makes me reevaluate why I look at something and say, no, I discount that, but I'm going to take this, or it makes me constantly reevaluate my own beliefs so that
And
Hmm.
I
it helps make
can
you reaffirm them
purge.
from a
Yeah,
different
and
perspective.
right, because
Hmm.
I may have come across an idea that someone was, writing about, or talking about, or actually living, and I may not have been ready for that idea, and I discount
Hmm.
that idea or tell you that guy is that's a crazy person over there, kind of like, and walk away. But at that point, I may not have been ready for it. That's why I like to revisit even things that I don't agree with, because sometimes maybe I just wasn't ready to understand how it applies. And so
Yeah, exactly.
and you have to do that all the time. Every time people look at the books that I've kept and stuff like that, and they go, "Why do you still have all that?" I'm like, because I may have known everything that I got out of the book when I first read it, but 10 years later, I might read it and have a different perspective and find a new gem that I
Exactly.
forgot, or didn't
Hmm.
pick up, or didn't
Hmm.
understand, or didn't, just catch the meaning at the time. So I don't give away. I don't give away
Oh
secrets
yeah,
like
me
that.
either. And it's been
Oh,
amazing being on this path for the past, doing this intensive, focus study during my, year and a day, just learning more about, you know, just paganism in general and the history involving, different areas, and also with Christianity. It's just moves back and forth and ties into each other. And, you know, with the Bible itself, there's so much that was, we think about things in modern day standards, but we have to look at the period, the actual period of time. There wasn't, plagiarism wasn't a thing. people didn't
Right.
cite sources, so it's not readily apparent to us now that, hey, this was actually, something that was borrowed from this pagan culture or whatever,
Right.
and that's throughout the Bible. So, I mean, it all ties in together. There's there's nothing new under the sun.
Well, yeah. Well, and the other thing is, what I always find, interesting is that, especially with Christianity, because it seems to be always pagans and Christians. It doesn't ever
Mhm.
seem, we don't throw in all of the other, paths out there, and there's lots of other paths. That
Oh, yeah,
it's
very
like
true.
you're either Christian or everything else falls under paganism. Well, that's not true.
Right.
Paganism is a
Mhm.
little bit different than just
Yeah.
everything out there.
Yeah.
But there was a point in time when it was just paganism. They didn't call it Christianity yet.
Mhm.
And so
Oh,
these
yeah.
people still have all their roots in
Mhm.
a paganistic society coming up, and they revamp it for their new, they repackage it for their religion. They cast out certain things, they put in certain things, and they formed the new religion. It's not that it's all brand new ideas. Every
Mhm.
religion out there comes from some older path, and stuff that we probably will never know,
Mhm.
because it was before written language. It was before, where everything was just verbal, and how, I don't know if y'all know where I'm going with this, but my brain is like, there's just no way of knowing the very beginning of the first spirituality.
Oh,
I like to
exactly.
think
Knowing
at
that,
one point it
Exactly.
was all sort of I like to think that at one point there was a general philosophy of things, a general. I don't want to say like a real truth, if you will, but I like to think that there was a way of being that was conducive to harmony and peace and whatnot at some point. But something happened that divides everything, and in order to figure out what that completeness was, um, it's up to us to learn how to communicate through no matter whatever different religion or whatever separates us. It's our job. One of our purposes for being here is to learn how to reconnect. And if we can do that, then that's when we'll be worthy of the enlightenment that we seek. But there are so many people who think, oh my God, you're pagan, or oh my God, you're Christian, or you're this or you're that, they don't want to see past it. So we never get to that place where we can actually figure out how to be a society of people being here. Um, I don't know that it's all as storybook as that, but I have a feeling that there's a reason that there's a gem of truth within every religious philosophy out there, and there's
Absolutely.
gotta be a reason for the separation. I think that that's what it was. The whole purpose was to give us something to strive for, and those who seek enlightenment are not going to turn away any sort of philosophy. I may not believe in Christianity. It may not be my thing, and I will never call myself a Christian, but that isn't to say that they don't have some gem in their religion that I can take away from what I've known of them to add it to kind of my store of knowledge as I go on and as I learn different things about different religions. And I
exactly.
just think that it's up to us to get over like the pettiness of who we are and see the bigger
Mhm.
picture.
Yeah, you also
Absolutely.
have to understand, if you come from a healer's point of view, the a lot of the healing philosophies, especially what would be gone down the New Age philosophies of healing, and that is extremely ancient. It's there's nothing new about it. Um, but they call for each one of the healing rays has got an ascended master associated with it. Well, Jesus Christ is considered an ascended master, but so is Buddha, so is Lord Lanto. So there's a whole lot of them, ascended masters. And they cross all kinds of paths, all kinds of religious belief. but they're associated with these color rays of certain ways to work energy into a person's body for healing purposes. And if you are, there is a certain, you're generally, you work with one color ray at a time. If you're really good, you can actually learn to work the entire rainbow of those healing rays. But generally, a new healer will have one basic one that works with them. And so you have um, contact with that ascended master that's associated with that as well too. So, and it doesn't matter what your faith is, the ascended master works with you. Doesn't matter your faith. It has nothing to do with that, because all the ascended masters were enlightened beings, and it's not about, I don't think Christ called his followers Christians. I don't think that, Buddha called all of his followers Buddhists. I don't think that was the case. That came after their enlightenment and after their passing. It wasn't. That's something that we did after they left the plane.
Right.
So there's all kinds of ways to look at all the different paths and to have reasons to understand. Energy work is, now their understanding has a lot to do with the survivability of the human condition. If you have a newborn baby that's born prematurely, they used to just stick it in an incubator and would say the outcome was very poor for that child to survive. Now they know that baby, and they wouldn't dare take it out of the incubator, because that was how that baby was breathing, that was how that baby was, doing all this stuff. Now they know, and they have volunteers, and a lot of Reiki masters do this frequently, will go to these hospitals and just sit and hold the premature babies. And they place it over their heart chakra, and they hold and touch and feel the baby. And that human touch magnifies the child's chances of survivability just by the human. That's an energy work. That is not anything other than energy being expressed to that child. Whether you are a trained healer or not. You don't have to be a trained healer for that. There's just something that is innately in us when we do that, for whether it be a small child or someone on their deathbed. You instinctively, if you look at it, want to place hands. The laying on of hands was a very Christ thing to do, but it was a very Eastern thing to do. It was a very all kinds of, people. But if you look at it, if you don't have any healing background at all, when you have a family member or somebody that's in pain, suffering in any way, whether it be emotional or physical, the first thing you usually try to do is touch them in some way. It's the laying on of a hand. And that laying on of a hand, you're giving them some of your energy to ground them through whatever they're going through. These are commonalities between the human. Doesn't matter where you are. We're all one people. We all need certain basic things, to survive. And our spirituality comes from all of that. So, there's got to be commonality in all spirituality. There just really does, And it seems to be, it's the power people of any of these religions that causes the division in us, because they're fighting for our money going to them, the power of the number of people sitting in their churches, synagogues, temples, whatever. They get a certain kind of power from a certain amount of people following their particular path. Those are the ones we have to watch out for. They don't always have our best interest.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yep.
So she has a very interesting blog, so everybody should check it out. And
thank you. I hope you all enjoy it.
Yes, far I have enjoyed, yes.
Oh, thank you, thank you.
Spin is very big on her research as well and doing, the different things. You've you've done all kinds of different practice too, like ceremonial magic. That's ceremonial magic stuff. That's where you know it had the basic premise of being a Masonic member or a Golden Dawn was that you had to have some spiritual background and be at the top of your path in whatever spiritual practice that you were in before you were admitted into a lot of these organizations to begin with, just that you have a basic understanding of the philosophies of spirituality before you entered into the higher realms of ceremonial magic.
Yeah,
Spin.
I think that a lot of um, what they held dear was knowledge, and not necessarily learned knowledge, but natural knowledge, the sort of innate gifts that we have for what we know to be true about the spiritual our spiritual path. And then once you showed a sort of a fertile landscape for more things to grow within you as far as your spirituality, then they would teach you what they knew. Then they would administer to you the secrets of their various orders. Unfortunately, as I've been reading in a lot of different books, that is what caused some of the greatest orders to um, go defunct, because there were so few people turning up for membership, or so few people accepted, that they kind of excluded themselves out of business, I guess. Like they kind of, they didn't find enough minds interested that were, fertile enough, I guess, to learn what they were trying to teach. And then being so secretive, so as to preserve the knowledge that they had, that's how we lost a lot of the really good, really big orders and societies that we have.
Yeah, they do have a tendency to. The other thing is that it's not for everybody. That the one thing about ceremonial magic is it's about you might work in a group. I did most of my ceremonial magic more by myself, um, and it worked well by myself. I'm not sure how the group dynamic would have gone with me because it's about purifying your own self. It's a form of alchemy of transforming your own soul into a more pure state. You're trying to work on yourself and trying to get rid of um, the transformation is yourself. Basically, it's the Philosopher's Stone is your transformation. Turning yourself from lead to gold. And and so I'm not sure how the dynamic of working with a big group would have ever been for me. I would have told them they were doing it wrong and I'd have to leave. I'm sorry, y'all aren't doing this right. I gotta go.
Well, I think it starts with self. I do. I think it starts with the self. I think it starts with being able to hone your own skill, so that when you come to the group dynamic, as the group would work together, they can make even bigger things happen.
Yes, yes.
Um, so that's why they wanted to. That's why they only wanted a certain type of person, so that they knew they weren't just gonna have any Joe Schmo in there getting all these weapons and not knowing what they're doing, and then just casting, and not having a clue as to what they were really doing. It would have made them a less potent circle. It would have made for some pretty catastrophic things if you give I mean, if you give a toddler a car, a brand new automobile, and tell it to drive somewhere, there's going to be an accident. So they wanted to make sure that they gave their knowledge, only to people who were capable of understanding it and using it, to further themselves personally, and then further the group as a dynamic, as a whole.
This is very
And yeah, so unfortunately, just not a whole lot of people were interested or could fulfill what needed to be fulfilled in order to pass that knowledge on.
Well, I think the problem is that the mass population are more sheepish. It's a lot of work.
Hmm.
Um,
Yep.
and I don't know that they're sheep because they want to be sheep. I don't think that.
It's just
I think
easier, I think.
it's a lot of
It's
work
just
that you have to devote, and not everybody has all that free time to devote to what they're doing, to grow that way. It's easier for someone else to tell you what you're supposed to do and what you're not supposed to do.
exactly.
It's, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that either, because it's better that if you don't have any kind of instruction, it's better than hopefully you find someone you can trust that is showing you the way without you having to do all the research, because sometimes it's not within someone's ability to do the research because of access to the
Hmm.
materials to do the research too. I mean, it's not, I for me, when I started way a long time ago, there was no internet, and there was still censorship, and you couldn't find just anything in a public library just because you wanted to. The idea was there that it was uncensored, but the reality was it was censored. The second thing is you had to know the names that you were looking up in the card catalog. You couldn't Google it. You couldn't say, tell me a little bit more about the occult. It didn't happen that way. You literally had to know the author or the name of the book that you were looking for. And you didn't have a whole lot of resources. You had 3 channels on TV. Later on came PBS. Well, they had Mr. Rogers on there, so that wasn't helping you much either. So, I mean, it was just like, you really, you know, you stumbled across these ideas and learned a new author, a new path. So it's not always easy to. I can see how a lot of people end up as sheep because it's just not available to everybody. This is really not.
Well, and research is something that a lot of people just don't want to have the time for. It takes time to read a book. It takes time. I mean, if I think about my mom who works a 9 to 5 job or really an 8 to 6 job, and then my sister who has 2 jobs, and I mean, I think about these. This is a typical lifestyle of the average person. By the time they get home, they just want to throw on their pajamas, get in bed, watch TV, whatever news or whatever gives them enjoyment, and they don't want to read a book. They don't want to fill their mind with anything other than what they have to do tomorrow. It's not, we don't live in that kind of a society where we can take the time for ourselves because we need to make money, whether we want to or not. We need to make money. So it's about, having to focus on the money, and then the money controls everything. So there goes the spirituality, because money you need to survive. Spirituality, you don't necessarily need that in order to survive and pay your rent and buy your food and stuff.
Well, you needed to survive well, but you don't. You don't need
Yeah, it's not a necessity that will make life or death necessity.
Yeah, exactly. You can live without it, but it's not a really
It's
great
better
life
not to,
without
but
it. But yeah, yeah, and then throw in kids, throw in
yeah,
raising, quite a few children
kids
out
and their
there, and then
illnesses and their problems and conferences and
yeah, that was when I had a big gap in what I was doing because there was no extra money to buy the books and have them at home. I
mhm.
didn't have the time to be at the public library getting books or searching, like Half Price Books or wherever, because that didn't come on till later either. But the computer was the greatest thing because that brought me back into the ability to research and stuff even when I still had kids at home. So that brought me back into my studies basically, and I think that's where I started hoarding books. I came across a damn book. It was mine, and nobody was going to touch it. It's like it was gold to me. But I also was
Yeah.
always thrived on research.
Just so I know, do we still have the viewers? Are you guys still there? I can't see
No, we
anything.
don't
So
don't have any viewers at the moment, and I got on the group chat thing, but that's not the chat that I normally see. And for some reason, I can't open up a second page right now on the internet so that I could go to where I could see the chat. So I'm kind of stuck.
well, bye viewers, unless you guys are viewing.
I was
Anyways,
not viewing. It wasn't me. No.
I don't think
I'll
it was me.
be back because I have free and I'm
It definitely wasn't me. But we did have at least 3 viewers at one point. Oh, we have a viewer now, unless it's been. So have you ever, what kind of path do you also walk? I know it's Christo-pagan, but
hmm Well, I and I'm pretty like loosely like I don't call myself Christian in the least. I consider myself completely pagan.
right.
Yeah, I just have some Christian influence, and that's another thing too. That I wanted to show with the blog, just the variance, amongst the people who are, identifying with this label. But definitely, Wicca was kind of, something that I was attracted to years ago, and kind of revisited, and that's really what started this whole process. And I realized, hey, this is more in line with how I think and how I feel about things in general. Also, I'm very interested in like Appalachian folk magic.
Oh, that's
My
awesome.
my father, his side of the family was from the generally like Appalachian Mountain area, so North Carolina. So I'm very interested in that. That's always felt like a magical place to me. So I really want to connect with that and that traditional, um, you know, those traditional magical practices, and a lot of those have used the Bible, and I've been reading Orion Foxwood, and in his brand of Appalachian folk
Mhm.
magic root work, and just using the Psalms for different things. I've just really enjoyed that. So, I'm still finding myself in really, narrowing things down. I've been able to find things that, hey, I really like this. I do have an interest in ceremonial magic, but that's been, of course, I don't really have that much of um, a base of knowledge with that. Haven't come in a lot of contact with that. So,
Yeah.
just kind of learning different things, but kind of generally speaking, those are like my areas of interest. And I'm particularly fond of the Greek pantheon, um, especially in school. Going back to seminary and Greek, I really enjoyed Greek, learning the Koine Greek, and yeah, so I just really enjoy that, language, and that the mythical culture, and I see a lot of that being repeated, of course, in the New Testament. I talk a little bit about that in the blog. Um, but yeah, those are just general areas of interest for me. But I like religion in general. It fascinates me. It can inspire people and bring people together like nothing else can. It can really be a beautiful thing, and I'm
Yeah.
just very inspired by it, and I just like learning about it in general, in
Yeah.
all its forms.
To me, I did a I did a video. I think it was for Planet Passings, and it was on. We were talking about the pantheons, and the pantheons are so related to the psychological factors of the human mind, and how the pantheons, like if you can take the Greek pantheon and you can place it over directly over the Roman pantheon, and there is a
Mm-hmm.
correspondence to every single one of them. But you can also do that with almost every other pantheon out there, even
Mm-hmm.
when they're thousands of miles apart, continents apart, and those people, when they both developed, had no way of contact
Mm-hmm.
together, but yet they still, because human truths are human truths, and
Oh
they,
yeah, that reminds me. so I've been learning about, Korean paganism, Korean pantheons.
Mhm.
Generally speaking, like a mainland Korean pantheon, and then the Jeju Island. I've
Yes.
been learning a bit about Jeju Island mostly, but there was and I don't remember the goddess's name right off, but it was just so surprising to me. She was very similar to the what am I trying to say? Um, I've had a brain fart.
I have them all the time. Don't worry. That's a common practice for me.
So, the three sisters who ruled over your life.
The fates, the weird.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. I was like, what is it? But thank you. So there's a mainland Korean goddess who she basically, it's like a garden, and the flowers represent your life. And when it's time for you to go, she clips your flower, and that's it. So it's just that kind of neat little repetition. And on Jeju Island, Soul Moon Day, like an offering for her is barley. That's see that with Greek deities,
Time
and
to time again.
so
Yes.
it's just that repetition. I just find it fascinating, and
Yes.
I really
And
enjoy that.
that's I just recently, I got visited by a new god, and it it happens to be Santeria or Voodoo type religion, and I really, I knew some things about. I know, I know a little bit about almost everything, but I don't know. I'm not an expert in anything. But it took me aback for a minute because I was like, well, why would this one come forth? It took me aback, maybe 4 or 5 days, maybe a week, and I realized all deity that has ever come to me was because it was something I was asking for, calling for, or some energy I was working with already, and it's finally, presented itself full force to where I understand that it's always been there. But my deities have always been crossroad energies, and this one is a
Mm-hmm.
crossroad energy that's a male. Hecate was a crossroad energy female. She doesn't
Mm-hmm.
have a male counterpart to her. She stands alone as a triple goddess in her own right. There's no myth or story associated with her ever being partnered with a man,
Mm-hmm.
ever. She freely worked both sides of the world, came and went. It was an intermediary. So was Papa Legba.
Mm-hmm.
He is exactly the same energy, only
Right.
in the male form. And I finally realized it was just a marriage of the masculine with the feminine, and he was the only one really to mirror being partnered with her, but to teach me more of the masculine aspect of things.
Mm-hmm.
So it was really that kind of, and then as I'm going through all of this, um, they told me that some of the dreams I had actually had I had the four warriors. They're called the four warriors. With Papa Legba was one of them, and Agun was another. But Agun is a warrior that clears the paths, clears your obstacles to let you go through the path. But he's the clearer. The third one that walks with them is Akusi, and Akusi is the hunter that cannot clear the path on his own, but hunts for them, so that they all walk together. And as soon as a protector that alerts you to danger, so the four walk always together, side by side, and the energy there. I don't even know where I was going with this. Oh yeah, I can remember.
We have a lot of that tonight.
Brain farts galore.
There's a thought behind this process. I realized that Akusi, which I have no representation of yet, I realized today the representation was my masculine god that has been on that altar this entire time. And so I was like, he was there, but he was just under different names, basically. That you can just take any one of these and you can put them into the different pantheons, and they exist. There's always, so I was just like, they've walked with me the whole time. I just didn't recognize them under this form, there was something about the stories that are associated with them in this form that was going to teach me the next lesson I needed to move forward. And so that's where I explore everything. I don't,
Well, see, that's why I don't think that every pantheon is absolute. Stop it, you guys. I don't think that every pantheon is identical necessarily, but you notice you never see, I mean, other than Scientology, you never really see any religion that is just completely different than the next. I mean, there's always some similarity. There's always, a lot of similarities if you really think about it. It's just in the way that you interpret the myths and the writings on those different religions. So,
yeah, and
absolutely.
I think the different pantheons might actually just be teaching you different aspects of the same personality thing, because if you look at psychology today, you have different approaches and theories on psychology when it comes to different personality types or personality disorders or whatever. And so each culture will approach those things a little differently. Not that any one of them is wrong, but sometimes when you cross cultures, you can actually get a more complete thing to help heal somebody, whereas you couldn't from just the one approach. So it's the same way with deity. I think that they come and go in your life as you need them to explain the next step, and it's whatever myth or story or creation that's going to help you understand that, the next step that you have to take. Everybody's step is different. Everybody's path is different. You're going, you're here to learn different things. And I think as a whole, every time I've crossed into a different path, all I did was open up a better understanding to somebody else and someone else's culture, and have a deeper respect for somebody else's culture. So I think it's a win-win situation. I don't know why so many people get so crazy when, oh my God, you're going to hell. It's like, shut up. I have to believe in hell first. I don't believe in it. I think you can create your own hell. If that's what you're focused on thinking, I think you can create that in your afterlife.
what I don't
And create that here too.
Oh hell yeah. Oh yeah.
I get the concept of the underworld as being underworld. I mean, the fact that they call hell is just, I think it's just a name, a different technology for the same thing. I mean, if Christians call it the underworld, we wouldn't look at it so negatively, coming from a pagan standpoint. We wouldn't look at, oh, you're going to hell or you're going to the underworld. I mean, there's a different connotation about it. There's a different feeling about it. So I mean, it's just a name. It's just a name, and basically the place will be different. I mean, or the same rather. It's just how you read into it. It's just whatever your perspective is.
Well, I think like anything else, you create your own reality of what you're in at the moment. So if that's the case, I think Brandy told me something today. She goes, Yeah, those people that just think that they can just ask for forgiveness from their deity, but then they don't do anything, and they're out there doing the same things over and over again, and as long as they ask for forgiveness, they're okay, and they keep moving on. And she goes, yeah, one of these days that's gonna bite them in the ass. And I said, well, in one way you can say that, and another way you can say that they're the actual ones that are freeing themselves of all guilt. And if you have no guilt, you have no bad consequences to your action. It's a lot about the thought process. You have to feel guilty, remorseful, and then you start attracting bad things. So if you can absolve yourself by, I asked for forgiveness, I got it, and then I moved on and I did it again and I did it again. As long as you're not feeling the guilt and stuff, you don't get all of the ugliness with it. So they just keep going on and having a good life, and they're enjoying themselves. And so sometimes, the forgiveness thing is a good thing, because once you forgive, then you absolve all that negative. You don't hold on to it. You don't hold it inside yourself. You have to let that go. That's one of the things about turning the other cheek, is really turning the other cheek and letting it go. You forgive for the other person so that you don't harbor the same hate, that whatever they've done to you, you don't become the same as them. So when you can forgive and let it go, you don't suffer from the same disease, whatever it was that was done to you. So it's like Brandy, well, they might have something there, because they're not feeling guilty at all about it. The guy that has 15 million affairs, right? He's not feeling guilty about it. He might feel guilty when he gets caught. Mm-hmm. Ask for forgiveness, and he don't feel guilty about it anymore. We might have.
Well, I think that whether we know it or not, there's in some ways we absolve ourselves for the things that we do. Otherwise we would just be bogged down with every little thing that we've done. I mean, there's got to be some sort of forgiveness that we practice, whether we realize it or not. It's just we don't make a show of it. We don't say, my deity forgives me, my this or that, every single time. Because if we did, I mean, I don't know, I can't see people doing that all the time. If they're not, like, I don't know, I just can't see people doing it all the time. But I think that we do it all the time.
Yeah. My deities I don't need to ask for forgiveness for them. Usually they just throw me down a hill and break my shoulder like one did. But that's more because I'm not listening to them. It's never been because I didn't ask for forgiveness on something. It was because they were trying to tell me something, and I kept asking, and I wasn't hearing, and I wasn't doing, and I wasn't implementing. And they finally said, "We'll push you down this damn hill to get your attention," kind of thing. So my teams are not so nice to me sometimes, but only in the respect of trying to get my attention. I'm here, I'm telling you, and you're not hearing me. But I don't stop to listen. When I'm always asking, but not listening, that's usually when I get in trouble with my deities. I don't see that they deliberately try to punish you and do all this other stuff that some people tend to think. Like, I feel really bad for people who are afraid to set up their altar, or afraid to deviate from what somebody told them it has to be, because they think their deity is going to retaliate on them. I don't think their deities, that's not their purpose, and that's not how they serve you in this world. It's not to be punishing you because you put the wrong color candle on the table. I really, I think more people need to understand that they do have a freedom of expression. They can, do things in a free-formed way. Yes, listen to your deities, but yeah, at the same time, they're not there to chop your hand off every time you do you didn't put the right incense on the burner. Oh my God, the scent was wrong, or how dare you put a different deity on this table with me? I didn't tell you you could do that. I really don't think they work that way. I
I
really,
don't know. I think in some cases that they don't want to be with other deities, but as far as when you're casting your circle, especially when you're new, it's not like they're not like the finger waggle of doom or anything. I like to think of
exactly. I
it
don't think
more
they're
as
trying to get you. Well, when I say if I am if I'm working with deity that's coming to me, that's chosen me, that I didn't literally go out and choose them. They chose me, and that's why I'm working with them. Those deities pretty much already are working together. So if you place them on the table together, they've already made a pact to help you. So
yeah.
if Hecate is there and then Papa Legba's there, I don't think either one of them would be there if the other one hadn't already pre-approved the arrangement, kind of thing. I think that
Well,
I've not had any issue, but I don't also just go grab any deity and throw them on the table.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm just saying more if you're one of those who likes to actually choose your deities rather than waiting around for a deity to choose you, and you're just mixing deities as kind of a mix and match or whatever, even if you like two particular deities that did not call to you that you're actually seeking out, it's probably best to give them separate space just until
Yeah,
you find yourself more,
yeah,
even just working in the abstract. There's nothing wrong with working in the abstract. And
true.
as far as casting your first circle, putting up your first altar, all of that stuff, I tend to believe that our deities kind of look at that kind of stuff when we're doing it for the first time as the way that parents watch their children trying to walk for the first time. They know we're going to be shaky. They know we're going to fall. They know we're not going to know everything right now, and they know we're not going to be able to run. So if you're casting a circle and your pentagram looks more like a Q somehow, they're not gonna hate you. They're not gonna like smite you or whatever. I mean, they're watching their child take their first steps on their path. They're watching you grow and taking that
Exactly.
step past the circle to do that kind of thing is like a child taking its first steps, and they're anxious to see how you do. They're not judging you.
Very true. That's what I meant. I wanted to clarify that my deities I work with chose me. I didn't go and seek them out. I didn't, say, "Oh, I think I want to work with this one today," and just throw them on the table. I
Hmm.
don't do that. But in the beginning, I simply was the divine masculine and the divine feminine and the source of all that they both came from. I did not have a specific deity on the table. It was just the divine feminine and the divine masculine, and like I said, in the source. I didn't have, and I guess that's why it was easier for me to actually come in contact with the deities that were connecting with me, because it's whatever energy I needed. They started showing up because I was inviting just the divine in. I wasn't specifying, and I was open to who showed up. Um, but I don't think I would just go around willy nilly just throwing anybody on the table.
Yeah.
If I wanted to work with a new deity, because I do think it's perfectly acceptable to choose the deity you want to work with, I have no problem with that. I don't think there's any problem with that. But I would probably, if I was trying to make that connection with a specific deity, I would have them on the table by themselves, because I'm trying to make connection with them. I'm not trying to make connection with anybody else. It's them. And so I'd be trying to call in them and trying to attune and seek that interaction and communication with them. And I would not put anybody else on that table. I would try to call in more than one at a time either. Um, but that's because I'm trying to make the first connections. That would be the way I would do it. Um, if it happened to be a deity that worked well with, like there was a male and a masculine counterpart, that they really worked together all the time. I might do that, putting, the couple together, on the table, trying to connect. Um, but I don't, other than that, I would probably give them their own space until I connected with them, basically. But I've been told a lot of things, a lot of times, that I was going to get myself in trouble. and I've broken a lot of rules, and some.
Well, as long as you absolved yourself.
I was going to say, sometimes I willingly broke the rules, and sometimes I didn't realize I was breaking the rules. But they've never punished me for either way, breaking rules. I don't go out of my way to piss them off. Like I said, I don't. I'm going to follow certain, things, but I just go by my instincts and I go by my intuition. And luckily, it hasn't scared me too much. So, tell us more about this Korean goddess, because I have not done much study in the Korean pantheon at all.
Oh, sure. Well, specifically with Jeju-do, that's the do on the island in Korean. So, Jeju Island. I just find it a particularly fascinating place because, well, one, it was a semi-matriarchal society, and Solmundae was the sole creator goddess of Jeju Island.
Okay.
And it's interesting because they're really known for the haenyeo, which is the free-diving women. They fish for mollusks and abalone. So they're famous for that. But it's neat to see that. You can see how they became that way because of having. And in recent times, fairly recent times, I think as late as the 60s, 40% of the men didn't work. It was the women. The women were the breadwinners. And in times past, on mainland Korea, when there were marriages, brides' families were paying dowries, but on Jeju-do, the men were paying bride prices for the women. So I just think it's a fascinating culture. And they had around 18,000 gods and goddesses on the island.
Oh.
And yeah, so there's a bit of studying there.
Yeah.
just a little.
Just a bit.
But,
that might take a lifetime. I'm not sure.
It's very true. But the culture is dying out there, and it's really sad. Jeju has become a tourist destination, and there's all these shrines that are being torn down for parking lots and hotels. It's so terrible. And the younger generation, they don't want to be haenyeo. So there's a few older women left. They now have a diving school where they'll actually admit foreigners. So they're really actively sharing their culture. And even with the paganism, they're really trying to actively share that. And I read on JejuWeekly.com there was a article a foreign reporter did, and she was the first foreigner who was ever invited to a ritual involving Solmundae. So I thought that was really interesting. They're just really wanting to share this and not wanting it to die out. And that's why I think it's just so important to share. Like if it resonates with anyone, that hey, this is something available to you. And Solmundae is she's just so interesting to me. And there's so many myths surrounding her, but one myth that I particularly like of her creating the island was that she actually passed gas, and that started the the creation process. But it's just funny, and there was just so many like passive things she did that created the island, the surrounding just the landscape. And it's like, she's just this vessel of creative energy that she just passively did things. She didn't think it or speak it. She just, she just passed gas or she peed. And,
that's the way of women, though. We are the passive.
It's just such an interesting story, and I just love that. And particularly with this, the Lunar New Year starting and the Aquarius new moon, and just all that new creative energy, and combining Soul Moon Day with that, I just think is really special. So that's that's kind of the big thing I want to share with everybody. Like, hey, if this resonates with you, think about trying this, because I believe this energy is reaching out and wants to survive.
Yeah.
So,
and when you're talking about the diving women, they're the ones that dive for the pearls too, right? Is that the same? They
women? Probably do. Yeah, they just kind of whatever they can get. They would just.
Pearl divers. Because they farm in certain parts of the area. They farm actual pearls. I know they do that in China. I wonder if their cultures of where the pearl divers are have anything to do with that island, and the diving. It's still the same diving kind of techniques that they do.
I think I might have read something about that, like in 19th century times, that they, first started diving for abalone because it was in demand. I don't know if it was. I think it might have been China, but I don't know. That's the best I can do right off. But
well, I just know that I've seen documentaries in the past, and it's been a while back.
But yeah, they're very famous, and that's.
And there was the diving societies of the women, and they did do all that you said. That's why it's ringing a little bit of a bell. I thought it was China, but it's very easy for me to have, because this was years ago, probably a good 15 or more years ago that I saw these documentaries that I'm talking about. So I could have definitely just got China versus Korean, all of that I could have easily mess that up. But about that they were independent women, and the men fought to be recognized by them, yes, and the women made the money because they were also gathering some of the best pearls in the world. Was one of the things that they were diving for, and they could be, how their skill was. They could be very wealthy women, and that's how they made the money. And the husband stayed.
And it probably is, and I just don't remember the pearls right off. But and China may have had a similar class of diving women as well.
It may have been a similar thing, but interesting. It could have even been the same island providing the women. You know what I'm saying? That they could have been imported in for their skill, basically.
Yeah, and actually, I think I remember them saying something about that, reading something about them actually going elsewhere in diving. So
that's what I'm saying.
I'm sure that
the culture is sounding the same, but not necessarily that I'm thinking that these other women were. It could have even been Japanese, but it was about the pearls. I can remember that because they were actually found ways to feed the shellfish that create the pearls, and so they would have them farm them and go dive for them, and that was the way, because the ones that weren't seeded actually made the better quality pearls. So it required those women with their diving ability to do that job, and that's why I'm thinking that it's probably the same women, even if it is in a different culture. It's probably the same women that they've gone and contracted out to go there.
Yeah, exactly.
So I have a question. So what made them decide that it was going to be women who did this job primarily instead of men? Because usually every job they start out with men doing it versus women working.
Actually, in earlier times, the men did do it, and the wives assisted And then over time, I didn't see where there was any definitive starting point, but over time the women took it over. So there was always some level of working together, of respect, because they were helping their husbands. It wasn't like, this is man's work and you stay home. But there was always some sort of, a level of working together.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
There was something also about the lung capacity and the breathing. There was something more technical about why the women were better at it. They could dive deeper without having the effects or something. And like I said, it was a long time ago.
Yeah, I'm sure it is.
The details. There was something about lung capacity or something about their size. There was something about
fat.
Yeah, I was going to say there was something about the body of the woman that made it more conducive for the woman to be able to do the job, whereas the man did not fare as well doing it physically. The men could not cope with the conditions that the women were working under. That's why they got that respect and why they made all that money. Because a man is not going to willingly let the woman make the money.
But yeah, that was cited as the fat content, that they were able to in the cooler waters to stay down longer and go down
That's
deeper.
what I was going to say. I knew there was some physical, something physically that made the woman more appropriate. Yeah.
Yeah, and in what I read, they said that it wasn't definitive, but I mean, you can kind of put two and two together. Like, that's there wasn't anything that's particularly recorded as, okay, this is it. So, but yeah, you can kind of put things together and see, okay, that's definitely a reason, that occurred. But it's just an interesting place, and I think it's just an interesting place, for not just Koreans but humanity collectively. This just really interesting society, and having this creator goddess, I think is really, really special too. So I hope I can ignite some interest in it.
I
So
think any of the societies that turned around and had the women in a totally opposite role as most of the rest of the world becomes a very interesting dynamic, because they realized that the woman was more suited for this. Not that that diminished the man's role, just that it was a different kind of, I found it interesting when I was doing a lot of the Native American research, that the Americas were based on, they modeled the American government off of the 5 civilized tribes form of government. But the one thing that they left out that was supposed to be original to the plan of setting up this kind of government that we have, this triangle-shaped government, was they left out the Council of the 13 Grandmothers. That the Native Americans always had the 13 grandmothers there. And that's a part that probably screwed up the American government a little bit, is when they took out the wise woman's input on whether or not that it was a wise path to go this way or that way, that kind of thing. And they created a different way, because American society, the government, the people who put it together, were not going to have women telling them what to do, basically. They just weren't going to have it. But the Native American structure was always to seek approval from these elderly wise women that had been around as well. And it's not that that diminished the men's role, because the men had a role too, but the women had a say, basically, in the path and course that's going to be over the governing body. So just goes to show, when you keep it in balance, things are better. And it, I find those kind of things fascinating too when you find those tidbits of history like that.
Oh, definitely. Well, ladies, apologize. My phone's about to go dead, but I just want to say
Okay.
thank you guys so much. I really enjoyed speaking with you both, and definitely hope to do this again soon sometime.
Okay,
Thank you for
thank you
coming
so
on.
much for being here. And it
Oh,
is
no problem. I
almost
enjoyed
9.
it.
Okay. It's almost 9 o'clock, and so we are going to end the chat tonight. I have an 11.5 hour day tomorrow, so
Oh,
I'm going to bed
no.
early tonight. So thank you so much, Kim, for joining us.
Oh, thank
Ben, as
you.
always, it is a pleasure being with you too. And next time, I promise to the 3 viewers that we have right now that I will be able to see the chat part so I can see who's viewing and talk to y'all and ask if y'all want to join in on the chat. Because I can't see who's there, so I can't. Y'all kind of leave your names, say hello. I can see it in a minute so that I can see who is watching so that I can ask if y'all would like to join next week. Y'all have a great day, a great night, and
Thanks. You
a
too.
blessed week. Bye.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.